change communities, change the world. Visit lionsclubs.org to learn more.
At St. Jude Children's Research Hospital, we're fighting against childhood cancer every day. At the heart of this battle are our donors.
Most of us want to make some type of difference in the lives of others. St. Jude does miraculous work.
The fact that no one has to pay, it's a place where everyone is treated as an equal.
Everybody is welcome here, and it doesn't matter your religion or what part of the world you're from. All that is taken away. It just gives you some hope.
It's just a nice feeling to put your energy into something that really does genuinely make a difference in a child's life.
There's just no greater gift. If we have the ability to help, then we have a responsibility to help.
Finding cures, saving children. St. Jude Children's Research Hospital. Find out how you can help at stjude.org.
Introducing the YMCA. Sure, you know the Y for a swim or a game of hoops, but we're more than that. We're a cause. When you take a jump shot at the Y, someone else is getting job training. Practice yoga as a team practices her leadership skills. We give people of all ages, incomes, and backgrounds a chance to learn, grow, and thrive. So while you might think of the Y as the place for lifting weights, we're also about lifting entire communities. That's the Y. We're so much more. Visit ymca.net/more.
Hi, this is Winnie from the Rosendale Seniors, and I support Kingston Community Radio, and so should you.
This portion of Kingston Community Radio is brought to you by Ulster Savings Bank. Visit their newest branch, conveniently located at the Ulster Commons Plaza in Lake Katrine. Experience the difference that local community banking offers with the convenience of another great location, easy access, plenty of parking, and a 24-hour ATM. Ulster Savings Bank, invested in community, invested in you. Member FDIC.
Pretty much. All right. Yes, we are. We're on. This is Thunder Thursday. Can't wait. December 31st. I'm joined. This is Tony Marmo. I'm joined by my great guest host. Not guest host. You're a regular host now.
I am.
You're in the deal.
I am.
Richard Cattabiani.
Hi, Tony.
Hi, buddy. How are you?
Good. Yourself?
Good. I'm doing great, man. Doing great. Feeling pretty good in terms of what's going on, and we're knocking on the door of 2021. Did you ever think of that?
About time.
I know. It went slowly, and then it just, I don't know, since maybe Thanksgiving, it seems like things went pretty fast. What do you think?
Not fast enough.
Not fast enough. I know. So you were on before, I think. You co-hosted with me not too long ago, right?
I was a guest.
Oh, guest. Okay.
I was a guest.
All right. So you're like the guy who pinch hit for, or Lou Gehrig pinch hit for this guy, and boom, you're here.
I'm happy to be here, actually.
Yeah,
I think it's a great radio station. You have a great mission, and, ever upward, as we say.
Mm-hmm. Give folks a little background about who Richard Cattabiani is. You have a middle name?
Actually, I do.
My guess is Anthony.
It is Anthony. But it gets more interesting. It's actually Richard Anthony Paul Vincent. And when I was growing up in Brooklyn, I used to run around the neighborhood and say, "My name is Ricardo Antonio Paulo Begente Cattabiani, and I claim this in the name of Spain." And then I would run away.
That's great. That's hilarious.
Well, you know how it goes in Catholic, Italian Catholic families. You have to name the child after every uncle, or else you won't get
grandfather too. Well, I got the grandfather deal. First male gets Antonio.
There you go.
And my dad's name was Pasquale, but he gave me Patrick.
Oh, well, good man. Good man.
Right. And I think my confirmation name Joseph, which was like a million years ago.
Right.
So Brooklyn, what part of Brooklyn?
Canarsie. It was right on the water. It was back in the day. It was Idlewild Airport, and we would ride our bikes on the Belt Parkway and watch the jets fly overhead and shake everybody's windows out of their frames.
That reminds me of the theme song to Car 54, which had Idlewild in it.
Right, right.
Ooh, ooh.
Yeah,
right. Yeah. That was back in maybe the mid '60s. I'm going to say, but I could be wrong.
You're never wrong, Tony.
No, don't tell Leanne that, please. So Brooklyn, okay, born and raised there, Italian family.
Yep.
Where in Italy? Just
my father's family is from Genoa, and my mother's family is from a little town outside of Naples called Avellina.
Oh, Avellina, yeah.
And my brother, who's fluent in Italian, has gone to both of those places. I've yet to go.
How did we miss you in the Ulster County Italian American Foundation?
I do not know this. I was very curious about this in myself.
Well, we're going to talk to you about this. And for a mere $25 a year, you can become a member of the Ulster County Italian American Foundation, and it's a great group. I mean, since COVID, we obviously have had to shut down pretty much. Although we did have in the summertime a couple of in-person meetings, and they were great. But yeah, we're looking for a great 21, and I have to maybe send you an application for $25.
Very happy to join.
It's a great group.
I really enjoy my introduction to the Italian American Foundation was when Rotary applied for a grant.
Oh, right.
And although we didn't get it, 3 of the members in our club, their organizations did.
Yeah. Yeah,
and
thank you.
I really, really appreciate the effort to keep the money in the community. And the grantees, as I recollect, one of them was the Children's Home in Kingston.
Yeah, correct. And, Salvation Army,
right.
And then Boys and Girls Club.
Correct. Yeah. So good work.
Keep it up. Thank you. Yeah, it's a great organization, and we are always looking for members. And again, it's an easy lift, and it's a charitable organization like Rotary and like Lions, and we look to give back, and we're looking to. The mission statement is to celebrate the Italian culture, to continue the Italian culture as much as possible. You know, when you lose the language, sometimes you lose the culture. You know, you can.
Well, I can honestly say that when you lose the language, you are subjugated.
Yeah,
I mean, that's
exactly.
Almost all. I don't want to get.
Yeah, but you can.
Yeah.
You can.
Well, the idea is, if you really want to keep some culture under your thumb, just change the names of their places, change the names of their children, change the names of their churches.
Yeah. There's history about that.
And it's awful.
So from Brooklyn to...
I went to, as most kids my age and my generation, they said if you went to college, you'd get a job. And guess what? They were right.
Happened.
So I left the enclave of Canarsie, Brooklyn, and I went to a small parochial college called Iona in New Rochelle.
Oh, yeah, great. Jesuit?
No, it was Irish Christian Brothers, now called the Christian Brothers of Ireland.
Oh, yeah.
And
they make good wine, too, by the way.
Yes. No comment.
No comment.
But after Iona, I moved upstate and got a job in Chester, New York, working with migrant children in trailers.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And I knew I was doing a very good job because when the holiday seasons came, I was a single fella at the time. When the holidays came, there'd be all kinds of baskets of food, by my Chevrolet Vega.
Yeah. The Vega, oh, man.
Please.
That's another story.
Yeah. So that was a good experience. And then someone said that, if you wanted to stay as a school teacher in New York State back in the day, you'd have to get your master's degree in 5 years. And I said, okay, where do you get one of those?
Yeah.
And they said, well, we have a school called SUNY New Paltz. Yeah. And I went up to SUNY New Paltz.
College at the time, right?
Whoa, I was amazed. I'd never seen such a beautiful campus coming from where I came from in Brooklyn. And I wound up getting a job at New Paltz High School.
Oh, interesting.
And I stayed there for 33 years.
Holy no, I didn't know that.
Yeah?
I think I knew that, but I've forgotten. And what did you teach there?
I taught English, and I taught history, and I coached modified sports, and I directed plays and did the yearbook and all of those. But, most high school teachers who have been in the game for a while will tell you it's really what you do with the kids after school and throughout the day.
Right. And the relationships that, I'll just tell you, my, best friend, closest friend on the planet, Peter Brent, was a teacher from John Jay that he and I struck up a relationship. when I was in John Jay and graduated in 1972. And Peter was, I guess he's 10 or 12 years older than I am, but we have stayed lifelong friends. He was best man in our second weddings, best man in each wedding. So
Wonderful.
I have an affinity towards teachers. I think they do amazing work and influence countless people, some of whom you probably don't even know that you've influenced.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I just want to shout out to the salt of the earth types of teachers who are the teachers who work in special ed, Asperger's syndrome teachers, people who
Autism
are exactly
right?
correct.
Yep.
And you know, it's challenging, and I know this sounds trite, but it's remarkably rewarding.
Yeah. No, absolutely. And hats off to them also during the pandemic of really just changing their whole teaching approach and style. And some are in a classroom. There's no kids there. They're teaching to Zoom. It's been difficult, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it's been difficult for teachers at most levels. So the other connection we have, and we can talk about this briefly, is through Rotary. You're a member of the Kingston Rotary Club, which is the oldest club in District 7210.
It is.
And you all have a great club and have gone through you put two clubs, you had one club, made two clubs back in the day, put two clubs back together again, and now we're doing amazingly well, I think. I mean,
I appreciate your vote of confidence.
Wow.
Well, commend you on your leadership as the district governor for 7210.
Thank you.
I mean, you lead from the front, and you've given us some very good ideas, and we just follow through on it, and we're happy about it.
You're making it happen, and it's all about leadership. And Bill Calderera's doing a great job. You've had some really good folks in the past. And you're going to be the vice president. You're the president-elect.
I am.
I'll be congratulations.
Thank you very much.
I will be there to support. Believe me, I'm not going anywhere. And
I'm happy to hear that.
I want to give a shout out to a fellow who texted me this morning. He and I. His name is Seraphim Wood. He's past president from the Spring Valley Rotary Club, and he's a great guy and a great leader in his own right. A servant. Most Rotarians and Lions folks, anybody in service organizations, are servants to help make the world a better place, locally, nationally, worldwide. I mean, that's what we do. We help people. That's what we do. And Seraphim and I, he's on our public image committee. He's one of these social media gurus, is on Instagram all the time, Facebook. And so he's on our district level public image committee. Past president of the Spring Valley Rotary, and a cigar aficionado, which I've kind of tagged along with him for a little bit, and had a good cigar here or there.
Wow.
So he's a great guy, and he called. I said, listen on YouTube. He lives down in Spring Valley.
That's great.
Go on the YouTube channel. Listen. You can listen to KCR anytime. 92.5 is probably our best signal, right, locally, somewhat. 9:20 a.m. goes almost up to Albany,
Wow.
And so we're broadening our base. Lawrence, how many folks we have on YouTube today? Usually we have 15 or 20, but not subscribers. How many listening? Do we know?
I think. No? I mean, I was just 20? In there watching it. There's only like 6 or so watching right now, but we've gained about 30 or 40 subscribers.
We're
in the last month or two, so that's
forward.
A good sign.
So any if anyone can't listen on a good signal, just plug in. You can get it on your phone if you're so inclined.
Wow.
So what else? What else we have? Where do you want to take our?
Well, education being kind of the operative word here. Two of our guests today, both of whom I know, one of whom I've not met personally, but I've seen and listened to via the new Zoom platforms, are educators, and one of whom our first guest will be Candice London VanDyck, who I'm pretty sure is a local girl. I met her when after I left high school teaching. I still had a lot of energy, and I decided to throw my hand into college teaching, and so I wound up working at SUNY New Paltz in teaching an MAT program there, and met some folks from Ulster County
MAT
Community.
Is?
Master of Arts in Teaching.
Okay.
So if you were in industry and you decided, let's say you were a chemist for IBM or another company, and you said, I've always wanted to be a high school teacher, but I really don't know if it's too late for me. Well, au contraire, mon ami, you could go to any number of schools and you could go and enroll in the MAT program. So I was working with people who were professionals who just wanted to teach high school, and it was a great segue.
Yeah, and you had a storied career at New Paltz, and what better person to guide and walk people through it than somebody who's been through it themselves?
Indeed. So I wound up at Ulster County Community College, which I think is the best kept secret on the planet.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
I mean, I just love Ulster County Community College. Worked with some very great folks,
we're
Don
blessed.
Cott and Dr. Al Roberts.
Yeah.
And I met Candice VanDyck there when she was teaching English, and she is continuing to do a great job there. But as we'll learn more about today, there's a new position at the community college called Chief Diversity Officer.
Great.
And I think that's
very important.
Very important.
By the way, Rotary, our district level, has started a district-wide diversity, equity, and inclusion committee.
That's excellent.
So we're lockstep, and so that's kind of where things are at. We have a great committee, about 7 or 8 people on it. Mix of color, ethnicity, sexual orientation, the whole 10 yards. So it's really what it. And that's to help us grow Rotary,
Correct.
And that's what it's all about, and having a big tent, what I call a big tent. So, I think maybe Jesse Jackson might have said that back in the day.
but the image is exactly right.
Yeah.
It is a big tent,
Yeah.
and to extend the metaphor, it's a bit of a 3-ring circus too. Because you don't know where to focus your attention, and
Right.
and once you find the act you like, then you just give it your all.
Yeah, absolutely, and we've seen a lot of that in our own local community. With this last year has been a turbulent year, I would say, right? I mean, on top of the pandemic, we've had interesting challenges in the community, but I think the key is people need to be able to continue to talk and speak and have a dialogue with one another. One of our other hosts on the Thunder Thursday show, Val Dwyer, she started up a group called Concern Kingston, and that group is all about coming to the table, having a dialogue. Different groups from whatever background you're from. Let's all talk about things. What's the direction? Where do we want to go collectively? And what are the problems? And let's get those on the table without pointing fingers, without raising our voices. Let's solve problems.
I would agree. One of the things that is that when you bring people to the table and you invite them to speak, don't interrupt. And I think that what's happened in the country is a kind of dialogue that's been interrupted and has taken the energies down the wrong tributary. We're all on this river together, and we need to find an even keel. And when people interrupt people, it just seems to me to be just almost like being a pirate, you just seize the moment and take it in the direction you want to take it, and I don't think that's fair.
Yeah, it's not. Mostly because people, I think, want to talk more than they want to listen.
I'm stunned. I think you're right. Yeah. But you really have to have something to say, and I think because of my school teacher background, there used to be a time when if there was a lull in the classroom, I felt compelled to say something. Well, it only took me about 10 years to figure out that if you shut up and let the stale air sit a while, somebody somewhere will say something, and more often than not, that's the tributary you take the lesson down, so to speak.
Absolutely. So, it's an interesting time, as Confucius said. We live in interesting times, and you can either look at it as, oh, woe is us, or you can look at it and say, what are the opportunities? What can we do to advance what we have? Let's not admit defeat. Let's regroup and figure out what's the best for the most. And it's not, we're not going to please everybody. We know that because you just never do that. I mean, I think it's difficult to do that. But I think if we get, most of the people at the table that have an interest, I think we can solve a lot of problems.
I think the key word is opportunity. You've heard me say this before at a few Rotary meetings, but talent is universal. Opportunity is not.
Yeah.
And what I think we offer through a lot of community organizations here is an opportunity for people. And, to quote Paul McCartney, you don't want to take your lucky break and break it in two, ooh, so you really do want to, when you recognize the opportunity, take it.
Yeah, absolutely. Music, too? You're a music guy?
Yes, I am.
Oh, yeah, because you did a bunch of plays.
Yes, I did.
Yeah.
I'm a piano player and a songwriter, and one of our guests today, the Reverend Dr. Leonisa Ardizzone, is also a musician and came to the ministry through music, which I'm fascinated about. I'd like to hear more about, and we will.
Yeah.
But I've been around, grew up as most kids in Brooklyn listening to some opera, not a lot.
Okay,
but mostly doo-wop and Louis Prima.
Oh, Louis Prima,
And once you see Keely Smith and Louis Prima, once you see those guys jumping and jiving, as they would say, that was a big influence on the direction I took.
We're actually, we're trying to make a big blast this year. You mentioned the name, made me think about it, at our Italian festival, which we're fervently hoping that we will have in October, and we should. I mean, if things are unfolding the way they should with the pandemic and the vaccines and quelling of this whole nonsense, not nonsense, but the problems that we have going on, we hope to have Louis Prima Jr. at the Italian Festival. We're talking about it. And also we're in contact with Lou Monte's son, Ray Monte.
Jeez Louise.
And possibly Dina Martin. So this is going to be a Lollapalooza, man.
Wow.
We're hoping we need to have a big blast this year.
If you get any one of them, you'll
I know.
will. Getting them all three
would be
overwhelming.
Yeah, it would be great. But I think I think people start the new year with a sense of optimism, right? Don't you think?
Absolutely.
Generally.
I mean, why would we not? Would get up in the morning if we didn't?
Half full. But and I mentioned this in a couple of other shows. If we sat in the studio last year at this time, near 12/31. 2019, without a clue about what a tsunami was about to hit us. Not a clue.
Yeah.
Just, everything's great. The economy looks like it's doing pretty good. Unemployment's way down and people can get jobs. And not to say we didn't have issues and problems. We did. But we had no clue. And can we sit here today and saying, do we know what 21 is going to look like now? I mean, a problem.
No. But I honestly do think that we've learned a little bit about how to negotiate what's going on.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know if we'll be successful, but I know that everybody will give it his or her best.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I my sense is, and I'm curious to hear your sense as well. First quarter is going to be just much like the same that we're in now, I think. Through March, I think we are where we're at. I think once, second quarter comes around, I think you're going to see some improvements, some warm weather coming back, and people willing to go out, more folks vaccinated. People, I agree we're going to have the masks for a while. Maybe through the summer, we'll see how that goes. But I think come fall, we're going to start to get almost back-ish. And then in 22, I think full back.
I would agree. I would like to think so. I do hope people will abide by the science. Oh, by the way, a quick thing. Dr. Anthony Fauci, his father's pharmacy was on 83rd Street.
Oh, no kidding.
And I grew up on 92nd Street.
Oh, wow.
So he was a known entity back, the Fauci,
You say Fauci or Fauci?
We said Fauci back then.
No kidding.
Because
now it says Fauci.
Fauci is how you say it.
Right.
But,
Fauci.
Yeah, but you learn, if you listen to some real Italian, somehow it got absolutely cannibalized and destroyed by the Brooklyn Italian accent, so you would say things that If you actually spoke to a person who knew Italian, you say, excuse me, what are you talking about?
Now, I'm sure they spoke Italian in your household, right? Your mom and dad?
A wee bit, if they didn't want my brother and I to know what was going on.
Yeah, we're the same thing. I mean, in my household, my mom and dad both spoke, wrote, and read Italian. I mean, they were immigrants. They were not immigrants. My grandfather immigrated in 1905, but by the way, on an arranged marriage from Italy.
You're kidding?
No. So my grandmother was here. Her family had immigrated about 5 years prior, and Anna Magici, they made a date with Antonio Marmo, and my grandfather's brother accompanied him to make sure he didn't feed it when he got here. So they sent, I don't know what the deal was. You get 15 or 20 cows or sheep or whatever.
I don't know.
I don't know what the deal was. So arranged marriage back in he immigrated in 1905. So so they immigrant family. My grandfather did not read or write English or Italian. I think he could obviously speak it, but I don't think he was literate and could write. Could barely write his name. And then they raised 4 kids, and so they spoke Italian fluently in that household because that's all they knew. And then mom and dad, east 116th Street, 120th Street, East Harlem, between First and 2nd. Melting pot, Irish, German,
Absolutely.
Jewish, back then.
Well, the melting pot, and I know this is called Thunder Thursday, so
we may change the name of this.
No, I want to be really careful here because, one of the things that I found that was remarkable in the neighborhoods that I lived in was that if somebody said, "Where are you from?" you would not say 1409 East 92nd Street.
Right.
You would say Holy Family.
Right.
You would say Our
The
Lady.
neighborhood.
You would say the church.
Oh, the church.
You would say the church because, and that's where you met all of the other Polish kids, the Irish kids, the Czech kids, the German kids, because the only common denominator all of these immigrant families had, blue-collar working families, was the church. And I can tell you that some of the churches are splendid in the poorest neighborhoods.
Yeah.
The biggest and most beautiful buildings were oftentimes tucked away in these little vest pockets of communities. And
it's a great
backwaters.
That's a great point. Yeah, this is good. We're getting close to break. I'm really looking forward to hosting with you. It's just so easy to talk and have a great dialogue, and I hope the listeners are enjoying. We have a great show today. Do we have an 8 o'clock guest?
We do.
Okay,
we
great.
do have a 8 o'clock guest.
7:30 is outside. Okay, that's
excellent.
Great. And so we got 3 guests. Please keep listening to Thunder Thursday. We're going to go to a break and come right back with our first guest.
You're listening to Kingston Community Radio on WGHQ Kingston. On your radio at 920 AM and 92.5 FM. And also online at mykcr.org.
100 years ago, there were 100,000 tigers in the wild. Today, there are as few as 3,200. The Earth's wild animals can't speak up when they need help, but we can. Be the voice for those who have no voice. Visit worldwildlife.org.
Hi, this is Tony Marmo from Norman Staffing, and we've been bringing together employers and job seekers since 1980. If you're an employer and have job vacancies, let Norman Staffing help fill them with permanent or temporary workers. We screen, interview, and recommend the best candidates for your company. We make the employment process easier and faster for you. Please call Norman Staffing for your employment needs at 338-9111, 338-9111, or normanstaffing.com.
Hi, I'm Steve Thomas for Habitat for Humanity Restore. Habitat Restores are nonprofit home improvement stores and donation centers that sell new and gently used furniture, building materials, and appliances to the public at a fraction of the retail cost. The Ulster County Restore at 406 Route 28 in Kingston needs your donations. Call our hotline at 845-853-7499 to schedule your free pickup. And thanks.
Long ago, you wouldn't think of galloping on a horse while doing calligraphy, and you wouldn't have attempted to ride your bike while typing a letter. Yet you think you can safely operate a multi-ton vehicle while texting? Behind the wheel is no place to multitask. If you want to BRB, drive now and text later. Lives depend on it.
Visit StopTextStopWrecks.org, a message brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, Project Yellow Light, Noise, and the Ad Council.
Hi, I'm Ruth Quick from town of Ulster. I support Kingston Community Radio, and you should too.
This portion of Kingston Community Radio is brought to you by Ulster Savings Bank. Visit their newest branch, conveniently located at the Ulster Commons Plaza in Lake Katrine. Experience the difference that local community banking offers with the convenience of another great location, easy access, plenty of parking, and a 24-hour ATM. Ulster Savings Bank, invested in community, invested in you. Member FDIC.
All right, folks, we're back. This is Thunder Thursday. We got thunder, boy. Do we have thunder?
And lightning.
Right.
We have a real lightning rod with us right now. My old friend and colleague Candice VanDyck, who is with us for the morning. And I just want to say, firstly, congratulations. I hear you're 8 months pregnant.
I am.
Okay. Yes. And I can also say, I see you are 8 months pregnant as well. So, Candice, you're a local girl, correct?
I am, born and raised in Kingston.
Wow. So, Kingston High?
Kingston High, Bailey Junior High School,
Okay.
George Washington Elementary.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
SUNY Ulster, SUNY New Paltz.
Wow.
I'm here for it all.
Wow, you didn't get too far.
I didn't.
Wow. But great education all the way around.
Absolutely.
Yeah, start here, go far, come home.
Indeed.
That's what
indeed.
we like to say at Ulster. But,
Yeah.
I want to congratulate you because you are now newly appointed Chief Diversity Officer at SUNY Ulster, and apparently you have just received a $2,500 Title III mini grant award.
I did.
Can you tell us a little bit about what a Chief Diversity Officer is and does, and how you will apply this money to your new mini grant?
Well, let's see.
Where do we start?
Yeah, I don't know that there's an easy explanation to what the position is or what it does. It was a SUNY mandate that came down that all SUNY schools had to appoint a chief diversity officer.
Okay.
So what that is now is what we're really trying to do is figure out what that means for SUNY Ulster specifically.
Right.
Because, every school has a different dynamic. So
Right.
we're taking a look at, every aspect of the college, internal operations, hiring.
So it's on the employment side, for one.
Yep.
Right.
Yep.
Student population as well?
Yep, student population,
Okay.
engagement with the community,
Great.
Faculty, staff, administration. It's a pretty inclusive
Right.
operation. So
And diversity as an A to Z with a lot in between.
yeah,
Right?
yeah.
I mean, it's age, it's gender,
Yep.
it's sexual orientation,
Race,
it's
religion,
race, yeah.
all of it.
Wow. Yeah.
All of it.
That seems gigantic.
Yeah. So, one of the things that has kind of confused me, and I'm wondering how you're dealing with it, is the way we are delivering instruction today over the internet, Zooming, and all of that. Is that helping reach out to various and sundry communities, or is it sort of a bit of a speed bump?
It is and it isn't, right? It has its benefits and it has its challenges. One of the challenges that has come up teaching remotely during COVID is technology, and a lot of non-academic areas, right? So it's not necessarily so much the content that's being delivered; it's how it's being delivered, making sure that resources are being delivered to the students. I actually had my first Zoom bomb during a meeting.
Oh, wow. Cool. Well, that's never happened to me. I feel a little jealous. I'd like to have a Zoom bomb of some kind. I mean,
to the uninitiated, namely your friend Richie, what's a Zoom bomb?
It's where you're hosting a Zoom call,
Okay.
right? A live Zoom call,
right?
And people decide to take over your meeting with some unpleasantries,
weird,
some
yeah.
vulgarities. It was the longest 2 minutes of my life,
Yeah.
trying to figure out how to stop
Did you
it.
know it was just a person just...
No, it somehow
Got in?
somehow our Zoom ID got leaked to the world.
Oh, man.
And all of a sudden it was just mayhem.
Tirades of
vulgarity.
Really?
Oh yeah.
Or it could be some flashing.
Yeah, they show videos. Oh, it's
man.
very, very long 2 minutes.
Yeah, and there's not a whole lot you can do other than probably hit the ejection button at that point. Meeting's over.
Yeah,
Sorry.
How does this stop? Somebody stop it. Yeah.
Wow.
Hit the see you later button. But
so in a manner of speaking, it sounds like the Wild West in a way.
Wow.
When you're doing your Zooming, and if you don't have the sheriff at the door, anybody can walk in.
Yeah, I didn't have a problem all semester long teaching, and since
I
the
think
spring.
it's rare.
Yeah.
Rare.
You want people to use their powers for good and not evil.
It's there's always one in the crowd, right? I have a question though about the position.
Sure.
Is there now a committee, or do you envision a committee that's been put together? Because as a one person, what can you accomplish as opposed to getting representation from whatever sectors you think you need to, whether it's internal, external?
It's a very large job.
Yeah.
Initially, I started a small committee to work on a new diversity, equity, and inclusion plan, and that's made up of faculty and staff at this point. But we are spreading it a bit further. Our academic senate has, agreed to take a look at developing a faculty-centered equity group.
Okay.
We want a student group. We want every person represented on campus. So, that's in the works.
So what about a digital divide? Is that part of the challenge, trying to make sure that every student, faculty member, and staff member has equal access and opportunity to get what he or she needs?
Yeah, absolutely. We just started a series this semester called Timely Talks, and our first show was called The Digital Divide.
Nice.
And that was where we got Zoom bombed. But but other than that, our first talk was with faculty and staff on the challenges that they see students are having, as well as the challenges that the faculty and staff are having. A lot of them are new, to the technological world, meeting their financial needs, their economic needs, their health needs. So we definitely have been working on that. We have some things in place, and that's actually, you had asked about the grant, and that's actually where those monies are going to go initially, is to making sure that students have what they need. Oftentimes we think just because everybody walks around with a phone, glued to their hand, that they know how to use all of the technologies that we're offering, and it's just simply not true. We spend a lot of time. How do you convert a file? How do you upload things? Students just don't know how to use certain technologies, and because you don't have that face-to-face interaction, a lot is missing.
Maybe deficit.
So, sorry.
So I was curious about when the mandate happened. When was it? How long have you been doing this?
I've actually only been doing this since August. We had a different chief diversity officer for the last 2 years.
Oh, okay.
So it's been about 3 years ago.
So it's been a while.
Mm-hmm.
But that chief diversity officer, as I recollect, Candice, was a part-timer, and she, although she worked very hard, had to drive to Orange County Community College, Dutchess County Community College, Ulster County Community College.
So they shared?
And so basically it really watered down, for lack of a better turn of phrase, her impact. How is that different from what you're doing?
Yeah, so her position was split amongst 3 community colleges.
Oh, wow.
At the time, which is just hard because, like I said, every college has a different need, a different a different population. So how is it different than what I'm doing? I went to SUNY Ulster. I grew up, like I said, in Kingston. I know the community. I know the people who I work with, the students who I serve. So I think that I'm able to have a much deeper impact in that way. Plus, I'm on campus. Not right now, but
right.
Technically, I'm on campus, so I get to see it. I get to see all aspects. So I think that it's more impactful.
Do you talk to other colleagues that are doing the same job in the SUNY system, maybe for some best practice sharing? Who's doing what seems to be working? I know every community is different, but in terms of the template, you may come up with an idea or some, oh, geez, that's a good initiative. Maybe it's the church group or something that you're pulling in, or council of churches or whatever.
We have listservs.
Speaking about your dad.
Speaking about my dad. He'll love that. Shout out, Dad.
Shout out Ted VanDyck.
So we have listservs. We have regular meetings with chief diversity officers across the state, all through SUNY, best practices. I just completed an implicit bias training with NICET that we're going to be offering to the college campus and community. So that should be good.
NICET being the
teacher, the New York State Union,
So you're talking a little bit earlier, Candice, about various technologies that are used throughout the semester. So what are some of the exciting new technologies? For example, one of the things before I retired from SUNY Ulster, which is 5 years now already.
Wow.
I remember since you and I both worked in Brazil for the English Language and American Culture program, how VoiceThread was used for language students as opposed to traditional methods. Are there any new exciting technologies out there that, or are we still improving existing technologies?
I think we're still working. I mean, I'm sure that there are a lot of new technologies, but I think with the transition and most folks, or a lot of folks, not being familiar with the current ones, we're trying to improve upon them. The platform that we use at SUNY Ulster is called Blackboard, and I think that no one could have anticipated what was going to happen, and everybody having to go to these platforms. So now using them to the best of their ability, and all the features that they have. So there are a lot of things, a lot of like VidGrid video capabilities. Those are up and coming. So some exciting things, but I think we really have to build the foundation on the ones that we have.
How much of that technology do you think is still going to be in use once we return to normal, if normal ever comes back?
That's a good question.
I think quite a bit of it, truthfully. I think that we have found the benefit in it, and not having to, for instance, there's a snow day. How do you make sure that how do you make sure
the end
that,
of snow days?
Yeah, the end.
The kids across the planet are going to be, oh no, what happened to snow days?
My daughter's sleeping right now, so she didn't.
That was the greatest thing in the world when there was a snow day.
But I think the ability to meet virtually with folks has really come into its own. I think that people are getting comfortable with it, and sort of enjoying it. Being able to be at home, have conversations, turn the video off, get your lunch. It makes it a little bit easier.
Mass gatherings, probably it's efficient. We talk. Rich and I are in Rotary. And I once a month we do a mass gathering of Rotarians, and 1,550 Rotarians in the district. And, last month we were able to get the president of Rotary International, who lives in Germany, and we were talking earlier, we have a club that has representation from Brazil and Pakistan and Sweden and Nigeria, and so, you couldn't get that. You couldn't do that pretty much previously. So, I mean, that stuff, I think, will continue, right?
And I hope it does, because I don't think we dare, and I use the word dare, go back to doing business as usual, because it's just not going to fly. We just need to be a little bit more embracing of the technology. Now, you know me, Candice. I am probably the least technical person. I mean, if it were up to me, I'd still be using smoke signals or a Dixie cup and a string.
Yeah.
I'm not a techno. I am a technophobe, I guess, but I do understand that there's just the way forward. If we intend to remain relevant in this new world, we just have to embrace these technologies. And I don't know, I can't imagine how you would do it in the classroom, since my understanding is, teaching is 3 words: relationships, relationships, relationships. How do you build a relationships over the ether?
It's difficult. Teaching online is not my preferred method. I taught limited online classes before because I like that human interaction, group work, conversations, dialogue, body expressions. It's been difficult. A lot more time you had to put a lot more time in this way. A lot more, separate meetings, a lot more emails, a lot more follow-up, a lot more trying to connect with the students virtually, understanding what they're going through, trying to build those bonds, making them feel secure, just encouraging them. It's been difficult. It's a lot more work.
Oh, I'm sure. And how do you manage the window of availability? I mean, if you're teaching an online class, you can't be expected to get a call from a student at 10:30 in the evening and expect to respond in a timely manner. So how do you deal with those kinds of issues?
Yeah, it happens. I had to often, tell my students, I'm not a robot. I'm not sitting in front of the computer, 24/7 waiting for you to email me at 1 o'clock in the morning. And I think it's just, communication. I think communication is always the most important part of it, is to let them know from the very beginning and just keep reiterating it. These are the processes. These are the procedures. This is how it works. Give them time frames and stick to them. If you say you're going to get back to them within 24 hours, do that, and that builds that trust and that rapport.
What did you do prior to this position? What were you in the classroom, or what were your?
I'm still in the classroom.
Oh, you're still in the classroom.
I'm still full-time faculty. I'm still teaching English.
Teaching English.
Yeah,
that's how we met. We were in the same department.
Oh, got it.
Yeah, right before this, I was the chair of the English Foreign Languages and Philosophy department. I also was the
at
SUNY Ulster.
Okay.
Yeah.
Has your whole career been there so far? Or your teaching career?
Yes.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, it has. I actually started there as a peer tutor when I was a student.
Wow.
Became a professional tutor. When I was going to New Paltz, got hired as an adjunct there, teaching English, hired full time, and I've been there ever since.
That's a success story. Grown internally.
Grown. And once start here, go far.
Yeah. I mean, that's amazing.
True.
It's great to have that continuity. I think in a sense of history in terms of what we've done. You've been there for a while now, so you could kind of see the development and. I guess it begs the question of what do you see 21 looking like?
That's a good question.
Come on, Candice.
In all facets of life. Let's see. I think that 2021 is going to get worse before it gets better. I think there's a lot of civil unrest.
Yeah.
I think that people are going to continue to challenge social constructs that have been in place in this country for a long time. But
do you think the pandemic has made that worse, or has nothing to do with the social unrest piece?
I'm not sure that it has anything to do with it. It may have exacerbated it a little bit just because of people's internal struggles and struggles with finances and maybe make them question a little bit more.
Yeah, more of a class divide possibly.
Yeah. But I think that in all of that happening, it will bring folks together for a common purpose. So that that's sort of what I'm thinking 2021 is going to look like. It's going to be busy for me, like I said, working, new baby, all that stuff.
Yeah, right, exactly. Wow.
The pendulum has to swing the other way. I mean, there's just been so much motion in a direction that, the spiritual physics, for lack of a better word, that all has to swing back in another manner.
I think everyone's life has been disrupted, with this pandemic, and some deal with it better than others.
Yeah.
I think part of the social unrest comes from the fact that some folks don't deal well with it on top of whatever discrimination issues or feeling, put down, and so now it's like a double whammy in my mind. I can't go out, I can't do this, I can't get a job, I can't. My situation is getting hopeless.
Right.
And once people are in that category, then you see all kinds of problems happening.
Absolutely. I mean, I would love to think that. When the clock strikes tonight, that everything is going to be rainbows and stars and balloons.
That's the optimist in you.
And that's great because we do need hope.
Sure.
But I think sometimes things have to get worse before they get better.
Yeah. It's a different year. We talked about it earlier. If we sat at this table last year in 2019 without a clue about what was about to hit us.
Oh, not at all.
You know what I mean? And so the question is, do we have any more of a clue about? We know what we're in. But can we handle what's coming? You think, Richard, that we can, based on what we've gone through.
Mm-hmm.
in terms of this last year of trying to, favorite word of the year, pivot.
Good word, though.
It is a good word. It is a good word. You gotta.
Has the enrollment at the college been affected by the pandemic, or has the ability to Zoom made it a little easier to get some more students?
I think enrollment in college in general has been affected, not just at SUNY Ulster. Some students just aren't. They're just not built for online learning. They don't want to. Their method of learning, their learning style is just not conducive to this. So I think that, those students who maybe are going to take a break at this point, or maybe, take a few fewer classes, I think they'll be back. I think that they see the value in the education. It's just hard for them. So I think, I don't know the exact numbers of what the enrollment is looking like. But, I do know that, a lot of students, just speaking with them personally, students in my classes, they're like, I want to do this. I just, I have a hard time. I think that, some folks will, probably drop off, but you might get some others who are home. Maybe they're laid off of work. Maybe, they're taking some time off to be with their family, and they want to take a couple extra classes. So I think where you're going to lose some, you're going to maybe pick up a few others.
Got it.
I'm in the jobs market, right? Norman Staffing. I've been doing that for the last 7 years after the healthcare gig that I had, and we're seeing companies calling saying, hey, we need people. We're looking for, it's a combination of administrative, financial, healthcare, so there's some signs of optimism in terms of businesses, not the restaurant, not the hospitality world yet, right? That's still mired in the pandemic, and I have great sympathy for those folks that are trying to make ends meet. But the rest of the economy, I think, wants to come back. It seems like it to me, and so kids coming out of college now, I think there is there should be some optimism that there's a jobs market out there for them. And maybe it's changed. Maybe it's work from home, remote working, becomes more and more. But again, no substitute for some in-person jobs that they're essential and you can't remote it, There's a number of those. But we're basically as busy as we were prior to the pandemic. In fact, busier right now. So, because it's hard to find people for whatever reason. People are on the sidelines, mostly for the pandemic, possibly. Or they're trying to shift their careers because, maybe they were in the hospitality world and that's nada. There's nothing happening there. Right. So now they're trying to pivot to another area. They may or may not have credentials or skill sets, which is why why am I blanking on her name at the college? Mindy Cole.
Oh, yes, Dr. Mindy Cole.
Dr. Mindy Cole is great.
God
I love
bless
her.
Mindy Cole.
I love her. And so, they're still working on certificate programs to give new skill sets to people.
Micro credentials.
Great stuff. And that makes that person job ready. And more marketable and more able to make more money, I think. So it's a great program that we support, Foursquare.
Correct.
And
Well, certificate programs and, as you said, stackable certificates and just getting licenses or what is really a very doable and rewarding experience. Because if you're going to be a phlebotomist or if you're going to do, anything
admin work or whatever.
6, 8, 10 weeks later, you have this piece of paper and you have entree into the job market.
Yeah,
absolutely.
And that's the gift of the community college.
Absolutely. It's great. So, we see that employers looking for certain skill sets, not having it, lacking, whether it's, Excel, Microsoft products, you name, there's a bunch of them there. Phlebotomist is another good one. The healthcare market is still hot, obviously, hopefully as the vaccine gets more widely distributed, more folks will come back. And we have folks on the sidelines in the healthcare field saying, I'm not going into nursing homes, hospitals, places that are really hot spots, for whatever reason.
Understandable.
They may be, absolutely. Yeah, they may have folks in their home that are compromised. But anyway, the community college is such a partner for this community. It's unbelievable.
There are 64 schools in the state system. 32 of them are community colleges. Over 450,000 people who graduated from SUNY came through community colleges and then transferred to the four-year schools. Yeah. And that was a really great idea that Mr. Rockefeller had. Did you know that every community college is 30 miles away from a full four-year school?
Didn't know that.
It was designed that way.
Okay.
Because they understood even way back then, you need
connection.
access, and it's really a great thing. Candice, we're at the tail end. This is the very last day. Who's worried of 2020? So, do you have a prediction? Have you been thinking a wee bit about either personal, professional, anywhere you'd like to go for the new year?
Good question.
A personal prediction?
Well, you get through the pregnancy, right?
Yeah, get through this pregnancy. Early February would be nice.
Is that when you're due?
I'm due later February,
okay.
But
sooner the better.
Sooner the better.
Yeah.
It's been rough.
You're having a boy. You have two girls.
I'm having a boy.
Congratulations.
Thank you so much. It's been hard because you think it's a different experience. My partner hasn't been able to come to any of the doctor's appointments.
Yeah.
It's been a little bit difficult because you don't think about that part of it. You know.
You have names picked out. You don't need to say them. But
I do.
Okay, cool.
I have names picked out.
Richard is a really lovely name.
It is a very lovely name.
Tony, I think Tony.
Anthony's a lovely name.
Yeah. I agree. Very, very good names. I'm just really hoping for a turnaround, a prosperous new year, for our community. The folks are struggling.
Yeah.
So I'm hoping, that their needs get met, that the constructs that we do have in place will step up and provide them with the resources that they need, that we can get back on our feet,
Mm-hmm.
I think that, as a people, we persevere. But, I'm thinking that, that's what I'd like 2021 to be like.
Yeah.
As it is said, let it be. Give some contact information, so if people want to reach out to you at some point.
Contact information.
Yeah, whatever.
All right.
Email back, whatever.
Yeah, sure. You can reach me at
Zoom bombed.
You can reach me at VanDyck C, VanDyckec at SUNYUlster.edu.
Great. Because look, what you're doing is important, and I think it's the wave of the future in terms of bringing people together. There's more that connects us than divides us, I believe.
Absolutely.
But then we just need to work on that model where those rings intersect and say, we're all in this together, and that's what diversity training does, and bringing this subject to the forefront and starting it as early as possible. It'd be great if it was at the high school level and at the middle school level at some point,
Yeah, if we could just, focus on the humanity within us first.
Right. We're all walking the earth together, right?
And get people comfortable having conversations about these difficult topics. And then holding yourself accountable. For
Conversations, talk, listen, don't interrupt.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Such a pleasure seeing you again, ma'am.
So much.
We'll look forward to, I'll hear from Richard, hopefully in mid-February, that the bouncing baby boy is doing well and mom's doing well. So
indeed.
Congratulations.
Thank you both so very
Thank you for doing what you're doing.
And give my best to all our friends at the English department
Absolutely.
and to Dr. Roberts, who is a tremendous leader.
Yeah, he's a great guy. He's amazing.
Dr. Bassman, as I like to refer to him as, because very few people know.
Oh, he's a bass guitar guy?
He's an amazing bass guitar player.
No kidding. Wow.
And I've had the opportunity and the privilege of playing with him on a couple of gigs, and it's great fun. So hoping at some point we can do some kind of
Bust that out again.
fundraiser with the president of the community college
that would be super.
On the bass.
Great guy, on the bass.
Like it. I don't play any instruments, so don't ask me to do that, but I'll be there.
Okay, you got to take it over to Lawrence. Thank you, Candice.
Thanks,
All the
Candice.
You're listening to Kingston Community Radio on WGHQ Kingston. On your radio at 920 AM and 92.5 FM, and also online at mykcr.org.
Someone in your town, at your school, or where you work is suffering from Crohn's disease or ulcerative colitis. They're dealing with excruciating pain and days when they can't even get out of bed. Chances are someone you know has Crohn's or colitis. Someone like me. I'm Amy Brenneman, and I'm asking you to support the Crohn's and Colitis Foundation of America to help millions of us cope and to find cures. Visit ccfa.org today to learn more. Help someone you know get back to their lives at ccfa.org.
Everyone is talking about healthcare these days. America spends twice that of other developed countries on our healthcare system, yet our health ranks near the bottom. How can we stop spending so much and getting so little? By shifting to a system that gives more patients access to strong primary care. Primary care can help make America healthy again. To learn more about the benefits of primary care, visit www.healthisprimary.org. This message is brought to you by America's Family Physicians.
Think fast. In the short time it takes to listen to this message, a small flame can turn into a big fire. Several minutes more, and thick, poisonous smoke may have filled your lungs and reduced your ability to respond. Give it 5, and your entire home may be filled with flames.
Keep breathing. We got you.
Don't let your world go up in smoke. Have working smoke alarms and practice an escape plan for you and your loved ones. Learn more at usfa.fema.gov, because fire is everyone's fight.
Have you ever experienced a wish come true? For a child battling a critical illness, a wish come true can be a turning point. One song, one dance, one game, one adventure, one moment changes everything. Make-A-Wish needs your support to grant the wish of every eligible child. Visit wish.org now to help grant more life-changing wishes. Together, we can transform lives, one wish at a time.
Hi, this is Winnie from the Rosendale Seniors, and I support Kingston Community Radio, and so should you.
This programming is brought to you by the Friends of Kevin Cahill. As a strong advocate of local broadcasting, Assemblymember Cahill urges you to support Kingston Community Radio with your time and donations. Your contributions keep KCR vital and on the air at FM 92.5, AM 920, and on the web at mykcr.org. Please join Assemblymember Cahill and send your gifts of $10, $25, or more to Kingston Community Radio, Post Office Box 4364, Kingston, New York 12402. Together, let's keep KCR alive.
All right, we're back, folks. This is Thunder Thursday, and this is Tony Marmo.
And Richard Cattabiani.
And we're going to do birthdays right off the bat. And so we don't have December 31st birthdays, but I think you have here. I'm going to swap you. What one do you have? You have January 1st?
I have January 1st.
Okay, let me take that one. You take January 3rd. So this is, we want to wish a happy birthday to, I'm going to say, Vincent Pinacchio from your friends at the Rosendale Seniors. And if we've gotten Vincent wrong, please let us know, but we think we got it right because we always think we're right. No, we don't. This is, so the winner, we only have one birthday for January 1st, first day of the new year. And the winner of the delicious cow pie from Boyce Dairy Milk House at 62 O'Neill Street in Kingston. And thank you to Boyce's for supporting KCR throughout the year with birthday cow pies, which are delicious cow pies. Have you ever had a cow pie, Richard? With a little marinara sauce on it. It tastes really good. No, no. So the winner is. It's Vince. You don't need to do that. I'll do that. Vincent Pinacchio is the winner. Wait. And then Dan usually says moo. All right. So that's Vincent Pinacchio. And you have.
I have a Sunday birthday, January 3rd, to Carol Curran from her friends at the Wellness and Healthy Lifestyle Club.
Okay.
And also a very happy birthday to Matthew Corvin with love from Mom, Dad, April, Jordan, and Tyler.
Okay. The Corvin family, big supporters of KCR and constant listeners, so we appreciate them. And you want to announce the winner?
Richard?
Is there a winner?
Oh, there's a winner right there.
Oh, and this is it. Okay.
That's the winner.
I see.
Yes.
January 3rd's winner is Carol Curran. It's courtesy of Boyce Dairy Milk House and Kingston Community
Congratulations,
Radio.
Carol. There's the horn, and there's the bell. So we have two winners, January 1st, Vincent, and January 3rd. And please keep your birthday wishes coming into KCR. I think it's kcr921@gmail.com. You can send those in, or to our P.O. Box, which is 4364 Kingston 12402. Birthday wishes are eligible for the winners. Will get a cow pie from Boyce's. So thank you to those of you that do that. Okay, we have our guest.
We do. It's my absolute pleasure to introduce Keaveny, who is a co-founder of the Hudson Valley National Center for Veteran Reintegration, and I've known Kevin for about 2.5, nearly 3 years, and I'm happy to say I serve on the board of this organization, and I am very impressed with Kevin's spirit and his mission statement. And so, Kevin, good morning. By the way, that's a great hat.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Welcome, Kevin. How are you?
I'm doing great. And I want to say those cow pies are delicious.
They are, man. They are. It's, you really can't finish one yourself. You can, but, that's not good. You need a couple folks for those, right?
Yes, you do.
Little party. Yeah.
So you're brave like me. Right down.
Right. That's good.
So, Kevin, tell us a little bit about your own background. I know that you were a local kid, Shandaken, as I recollect, correct?
Shandaken, but I'm also one of them there transplants. So I'm originally from Staten Island. I've been up here around 17 years now.
We're in Staten Island. I have folks in New Dorp.
I know New Dorp, Westerly, New Brighton, Port Richmond, South Beach.
South Beach, okay.
Moved around.
A lot of Italianos in Staten Island, man.
Italian and Irish. That's it.
That's
what
it is.
On the Irish side.
Yeah, I get it. So your folks were, my relatives were civil service workers coming out of World War II. Cop, firefighter, bulldozer on Staten Island.
Yep.
The dump.
Same here.
Out of the CBs,
Grandfather, World War II, went right into civil service. My father's same thing. He was a cop. Cops and firemen.
That's it, man. Ton of Staten Island folks. Yep, that's my.
So,
it's just one quick one on that because my mom, it was my mom's side of the family. The last name was Tulli, which in Italian is pronounced Tulli, but in U.S. it's pronounced Tully. So they thought they were Irish, but they were Italianos.
So coming from cops and firemen and the whole notion of service above self, because if there are any selfless jobs, certainly being a New York City policeman and a New York City fireman are truly selfless. So do you think that was basically ingrained in you? You think that's how some of this spark happened?
Part of it. I mean, my family is definitely, they, blue collar from start to finish.
Yeah.
And they had an outstanding work ethic, which, of course, when I was a kid, I couldn't stand.
Right.
I was always doing something. Oh, no, it definitely had an effect, and it's one of those things where, and the Richard definitely knows I can't sit still for 10 minutes.
Yeah, it's good. And, maybe a little delayed effect, though. Right back in the day, you're saying, "Man, what do I got to do this?" Blah blah blah.
Yeah. And then my old man was a cop at every cop has a side gig, and my father was a painter.
Oh, interesting.
So indentured servitude, slave labor, whatever you want to call it.
Kevin, grab the bucket. Kevin, grab the this. Kevin, grab the that.
Exactly. I was hating life from Friday to Sunday, which is when he was painting. I knew what I was doing.
You want to be with your buddies.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So tell us a little bit about how you came to do what you're doing, which is profound.
Well, it's so obviously I went to Afghanistan, so I came back and, like most, so many other service members that go over there, they just, all right, let's get back to work. We're done, and you don't, and you neglect the challenges that you've gone through, and which is exactly what I did. You just at the time I had no idea what it was. I'm done. Let's get back to work, and But I wasn't ready for that.
Yeah.
And, so I wreaked havoc on my family. I Probably went through 4,350 different jobs.
Right.
I was violent, the whole 9 yards, and I just didn't know what was going on. So the short version of it is, so I knew I needed to do something.
Right.
So I bought a set of boat plans, and I started building a boat in my backyard. During that. Yeah, it was awesome, and during that time, it's my kids would come near me, my family could come near me, even the pets weren't afraid of me, because it grounded me. It gave me something to focus on.
Right.
The family would come over, we have a good time.
Purpose, right.
Put that in my in my mental Rolodex there, and say, this is something that may help some other folks down the road. And then of course I just went back. I was discharged from that point, and then tried going back to work. How many
years were you in the service?
15 years altogether.
Wow.
Yeah, so
that's a long
on and
gig,
off
man.
breaks in service.
Wow.
My oldest son decided to join the military, and so that was 30, I was 39 going on to 40 at the time. I was like, you know what, I'll show that kid. Yeah. And I wound up re-enlisted in the Guard and went back in. That's actually how I wound up getting deployed.
Wow.
But yeah.
40 years old.
40 years old. It was blast.
Man.
Infantry, the whole 9 yards.
When you went in, you were like in your early 20s-ish or mid-20s?
Yeah, 2021 when the first time I went in. It was, breaks of service here and there. And,
Army or what branch?
It was Army National Guard. It was, I loved it. I did everything
for 15 years, yeah.
Yeah. We did, I was a tanker in the beginning. I even did artillery, and then, finally, I did infantry. So I went, instead of like a normal person, you progress from the most physically demanding to the least physically demanding. Although none of them were all that easy. But I went from driving to walking. I went in reverse.
Right.
But that was good stuff. But so I just after
the transition, right? The transition back to civilian life
was
easy.
a very big challenge for me. But blue collar guy myself, up until my mid 40s, I had no. I was a high school dropout. I had no idea what was going on. I was just going with common sense in my gut.
Right.
So that's how I wound up building the boat. Realized what I did. Went back to work. After that, and still struggled. And I just through several interesting events, I realized that I needed help. So I reached out. I called the Veteran Crisis Hotline and went into counseling. Wound up going back to school. Tried several different courses trying to figure out what was the best fit for me, where my purpose was. I met a great guy there named Frank Ruggiero. He's a veteran service officer now for
Ulster County?
Ulster County, or the deputy director, I believe his title is. At the time, he was the veteran service coordinator at Ulster County Community College. And he just kind of looked at me, because I come in and I whine every day. I come into his office. What the heck am I doing? This is stupid. 40 years old, going back to school, blah, blah, blah. I just want to be left alone. And he just kind of looked at me. And if you know Frank's just got this, he's pretty direct, you know. And he said, well, what the hell are you doing? What do you want to do?
Yeah.
And that's how we started this. It was just, just a lot of talking, a lot of navigating, and
how'd you guys meet?
Frank Ruggiero.
Frank Ruggiero.
Frank. My office was right next to Frank's at the college, and I was the director of international programs at the school for 19 years.
Okay.
And Frank would oftentimes have these most interesting men and women come in his office, and I would say, gee, that's really interesting. What's this about? And the rest is history. So I realized when I just saw an awful lot of pain coming through the vets who were in my class. So at one point, Frank and I made this little unofficial pact. All the vets who needed to take English were placed with me. Mm-hmm. And the rest, we just worked together. And I met some remarkable men and women. And I decided there's a lot of pain out here. Writing can help.
Yeah.
See what I can do.
Did that help you, Kevin? Were you in Richards?
No, I was never a student in Richards.
Okay.
I did do some activities that I think the first real interaction I had with you was what the name of the movie? I believe it was the Coming Home or the Homecoming.
Yep, Homecoming. Correct.
And I actually brought a friend, a Vietnam vet, to see the movie, and it was very difficult for him to watch, and that's how we met officially, because we actually stepped out into the hallway. The vet that I was with, just he didn't
right.
It wasn't absorbing the movie well, and it was having an emotional effect on him. And then we stopped and we chatted in the hallway, and I think that was our first real meeting.
You're right. Yeah. Yep. So the idea, my understanding is that the work on the wooden boat that Kevin started, that workshop, ultimately became, it wasn't necessarily therapy, but therapeutic. And I think I'm borrowing your turn of phrase on this. Can you tell us a little bit more about the difference, please?
I'm sorry, I started talking about school and boats, and I got
That's okay. It's all good.
This is just good story.
Yeah, so that's so after speaking with Frank, and I just realized that working with veterans is what I wanted to do. It's just like Richard. I just saw a lot of there's a lot of struggle there, but I also saw a lot of strength. Holy crap! These folks put a uniform on to serve the country, serve the citizens, to give everything, no matter what their job was in the military. They took that risk and they made that commitment to their community. And to me, it would be, it was an honor to have that opportunity to do something to help them, to get them back where they needed to be. And that's how this started, And so I switched over some IT classes I was taking at the college at the time, but I switched over to human services, Ulster County College, and ultimately Marist, St. Rose, and for social work and all that good stuff. And I just started working and reaching out to members of the community, because God knows this was something I could never do on my own. I knew from the very beginning that in order to make this a success, in order to make this an effective organization to work with veterans, no matter where they come from, what their discharge status was, or whatever it is, whatever their issues were, and their family members, as well as active service members, that we needed to bring in strong individuals that specialize in certain areas. And several years, we started about 5 years ago. We became an official 501c3 going on 2 years now. And
so now you're talking about the Hudson Valley Center for Veteran Reintegration.
Well, see, we also now talking about as we bring in stronger board members and folks that are great and dedicated to the veteran community. It is the Hudson Valley National Center for Veteran Reintegration.
All right.
And if we just say the center, or if I just say the Hudson Valley Center for Veteran Reintegration, there's a few board members that have a rolled-up newspaper in the office and whack me in the back of the head.
So I want to there's an article that was published on November 10th, 2019 that says, the title of it is Building Boats Helps Veterans Reintegrate into Society. And that's your story.
That's it.
So you took the boat building and drew in other struggling vets, Kevin, right? That needed help and needed direction like you did. You kind of made your own path ultimately.
I was very lucky. There were a lot of great people in place that saw me struggling and just extended that hand to help.
Well, you really walk the talk, and I think that's what people recognize in you in general. And I think you should share with the audience the 315-mile kayak trip from the origin of the Hudson and Lake Tyr in the clouds all the way down to Manhattan, because that, my friend, was really a remarkable event.
Oh, it was awesome. What else were we going to do? So we decided to go for a little walk, a little paddle,
Let's go for it.
Yeah. Most people just go to Stewart's and get some milk, Kevin,
Yeah, well, I didn't say it was the smartest tool, the sharpest tool in the shed.
Yeah, well, you're a master joiner, for gosh sakes, right?
Yeah, so it was just, it's just we wanted to do something. We just, especially with the state of the country right now, COVID and all that kind of stuff. It was just we wanted to do something to bring awareness to our veterans, homeless veterans, veterans committing suicide, and it's we started as the Veteran Wooden Boat Workshop. That's how we began this. That's what saved me. It's not, it's no secret, and I'll say that proudly. That building that stupid boat in my backyard is what brought me to where I am now.
Amazing. So where are you? Where is it located? Where's the organization?
We are at 320 Enterprise Drive, which is the old Tech City. So we've got office space in there, and then in the back in Boyceville Lane we have a workshop. So it's really great stuff. We've achieved a lot in the last couple of years. When you walk into the office space and you see the workshops and you see the awesome folks that just help, that are there to work with the veterans, I shake my head every time I walk in. Richard and Ray, one of our other folks, just usually when I come in, they're already in the front offices, and I just I look at these two because these guys are pretty accomplished folks, And I come in there and here they are sitting at the center, and I'm like, I'm a lucky son of a gun, It's we
believe in your mission. Obviously, they believe in what you're doing and how you're doing it, and lending expertise.
I mean, it's the one thing I'll say is I'm definitely driven. I don't for better or for worse, I do not. There's not a lot I won't put up with. For me, it's about the veterans. It's about the mission. It's about the service members. I don't want to hear any excuses. So that's if I can do it, and I'm just some
a little bit
schmuck.
of tough love, right? A little bit of tough love.
It's maybe it's a little bit of tough love, but it's more. I'd say it's more of a concern and a passion, because if you make a wrong turn somewhere, that's you're talking about someone that might take their own life.
I mean,
you don't mess around with that. That's something where you absolutely have to be focused 100% at all times. You have to keep in the back of your head. All the stuff that we do is fun, and there's definitely purpose to it, and there's some awesome things that are happening. But for me, is if we make a mistake somewhere, if we don't do the right thing, if we don't extend that hand at the right time,
we lose somebody.
Someone's going to die, or someone's going to become homeless, or someone's going to walk away and lose access to those resources.
So, Kevin, when we first started working together, and we had a conversation a couple of years ago, I asked, what do we do? And you simply said suicide prevention. Can you talk a little bit about that profound mission?
Yeah, it's tough, So for me, that's one of the things that everyone knows someone that's taken their own life. Mm-hmm. Everyone knows a service member that's no longer here because they felt they had nowhere else to reach. They had no place to go. And for me, it's ridiculous. It's just, how can after someone's worn that uniform, after someone's done selfless service, and some of these folks have done some really amazing things, that and have been through some things that just a regular, just normal Joe or Joanne, whatever, just would not have recovered from. So now here they are, so they've come to an end with their military career, and now they've lost that sense of purpose, and they feel they've got nowhere else to turn, and that just leads from one dark place to another dark place to another dark place to ultimately taking their own
hopeless
life.
At that
hopeless,
point.
And
right.
that it doesn't, we all know it doesn't just affect them; it affects their family, it affects their friends, and just that
big ripple.
That ripple effect is, it's unnecessary.
Right.
And I think that's the biggest thing for me is that word right there. This is unnecessary.
Kevin, we have about roughly 10 minutes, maybe a little less, but give some contact information now, and before you get off, we're going to ask you to do that again. So how do people contact you or the organization if they have a question or know somebody who's in need that could benefit from your program?
All right, so there's a couple of ways. For the old guys like me, you've got the traditional phone. So that's 845.
By the way, I looked you up. You're not that old, dude. I'm sorry.
There's days where I feel like I'm 112.
See this? This is old here.
Well, I wasn't going to say anything. My family taught me to be polite.
We prefer the verb vintage rather than old. We're vintage editions here.
Yeah,
vintage. I'll tell you, you guys are looking good for vintage.
Thank you. So how do people contact?
So our office number is 845-481-4004.
Okay, give it again, please.
845-481-4004.
Okay, great.
We have email, which is info, I-N-F-O, @hvcvr.org.
Okay.
We have social media. Yep, our website is hvcvr.org. And there are, we've got contact forms. Facebook, it's facebook.com/HVCVR.
Right.
So we're out there. I mean, at this point now, you can simply Google us and we'll come
you'll
up.
pop up. By the way, I've known Dan Gagnon for
I love that guy.
Say 30, 40 years, but he's amazing. Know Marge well. She worked at Kingston Hospital with me for years.
They are great people.
Jillian Nadiak, who works at the college in President Allen's office.
She used to. She's now. She's actually doing opioid prevention work for the city.
She's amazing. You got a great team.
Oh, and we've also
great team.
Some of our greatest, the latest and greatest additions are Ann Marat.
Oh, yeah, from the college, too.
Former executive vice president, chairwoman, Ulster County Savings.
She's great.
Ellen Pendergast just came on board.
Oh, yeah, Ellen from Mental Health Association.
CEO of MHA Mental Health Association. So we're very, very, very lucky, very fortunate.
Right.
We've got some awesome people that really know what they're doing, that have been in the mental health arena for many, many years.
So I'm in the employment business. I own Norman Staffing in Kingston. And
excellent.
Please, reach out to me. We love hiring vets.
Good.
Okay.
We love hiring vets because they're typically, usually, disciplined. They get the time thing. They get the respect thing. They get showing up to work on time is important. And if you can't show up, call. Typically,
focus and driven.
Exactly, because the military experience and training, I think, works well in the employment world, assuming their world is okay. And sometimes the job is a missing piece. They can't find the right job. They can't find this. So please, reach out to me. I'll give you my contact information.
Yeah,
Richard
please
knows
do.
how
I
to
love
get
that.
me. Norman Staffing in Kingston. We're right on Clinton Avenue, and we serve the Hudson Valley and all kinds of different jobs from you name it.
And that's
not neurosurgery though.
Well, I'll tell you what, but that right there, this is the main. This is what we do, because it's peer support. It's therapeutic. It's not therapy. It's about developing relationships in the community. It's the mission, right? So it's reintegration through purpose, dignity, respect, and honor. So when we find folks, we find resources, and we share that with them, and then these veterans and the family members, they hear like, oh, really? They want to help? They want to take that step, but that means a lot to these.
Absolutely. It's a big deal.
It's so important. And once again, the whole idea of reintegrating into the community with purpose, dignity, respect, and honor. And it is an essential service you're providing, Kevin. I'm really very, very pleased.
But it's not me. It's we.
It's true.
Of folks.
It is true.
But
you do lead from the front.
Yeah.
You are the spark.
Leadership
you are
is key.
You are the anchor here.
Go back there. I got nothing else to do. Might as well do something.
Well,
thank you. I appreciate that, and I do definitely bust my butt to make sure that works.
So listen, we're at the tail end of 2020. This is the very last day. Do you have any predictions for us as we move into the new year? I know it was a surprise question, but I know you're good on your feet. So do you have anything for us for 2021?
I know one guy who's going to be getting in a sailboat and enjoying some warm weather. Because we all know I love the winter, don't I, Richard? So that's my first prediction.
Excellent.
And I think the second prediction is there's some great stuff that we're doing that's coming up very soon. And there's a few other veteran organizations that are coming into Ulster County.
Good.
So I believe Ulster County is going to be one of the awesome
hot spots
for veterans and service and families. So
Okay, I like.
More to come on that.
I like. I like that
Excellent.
prediction. Very good, Kevin. All the best in what you're doing, and any way I can help, please let me know.
This right here. Thank you very much.
Yeah, this show is recorded. You'll be able to listen to it on YouTube. Find it on YouTube. Probably tomorrow it'll be up. And
I've actually this is my first time in the office.
Yeah.
Or in the station. I've been on the station a few times now. So thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Great. Well, thank you for listening and supporting. All the best in your mission and what you're doing, and God bless what you're doing.
All right, gentlemen. Thank
All
you
right.
very much.
Take good care of yourself.
Lauren.
You're listening to Kingston Community Radio on WGHQ Kingston. On your radio at 920 AM and 92.5 FM, and also online at mykcr.org.
A message from the American Migraine Foundation.
It's an absolute nightmare.
There's pain that does not stop.
I feel trapped by migraine.
Migraine is a disabling disease.
I feel like I'm dying. You feel like the world's closing in on you. There's nothing you can do.
It's like you're trapped in your head. There's no escaping it. You can't leave your body.
Don't suffer alone. Make your move against migraine. Visit AmericanMigraineFoundation.org to find help, learn more, and get connected.
We are Lions. We bring hope where it's needed. We are a global force for good. Support causes that matter. Change lives. Change communities. Change the world. We can do more together than we can alone. Join in. Experience the joy of serving. Be part of the movement. Give back. Let's unite the world for good. We are Lions. You can be too. Visit weserve.org.
Hi, this is Tony Marmo from Norman Staffing, and we've been bringing together employers and job seekers since 1980. If you're an employer and have job vacancies, let Norman Staffing help fill them with permanent or temporary workers. We screen, interview, and recommend the best candidates for your company. We make the employment process easier and faster for you. Please call Norman Staffing for your employment needs at 338-9111, 338-9111, or normanstaffing.com.
Hi, my name is Jackie Levezzo. I'm from Lake Katrine, and I support Kingston Community Radio because it is an invaluable resource to the community and its residents.
This portion of Kingston Community Radio is brought to you by Ulster Savings Bank. Visit their newest branch, conveniently located at the Ulster Commons Plaza in Lake Katrine. Experience the difference that local community banking offers with the convenience of another great location, easy access, plenty of parking, and a 24-hour ATM. Ulster Savings Bank, invested in community, invested in you. Member FDIC.
All right, we're back. This is Thunder Thursday. Woo-hoo! This has been a great show.
It's been fun.
Really, it's been a blast. As of our last day of the year, I couldn't think of anyone else I'd rather spend it with, quite honestly, on the radio.
Well, thank you, Anthony.
So, wasn't that nice? my co-host, Richard Cattabiani, or the co-host, not mine. And I'm Tony Marmo, and please introduce our guest.
Well, this is quite a pleasure for me because I've seen and heard Leonisa for over a year now, but I've never met her in person.
Wow.
This is my very first time, and she is a very accomplished person, and I think I'm going to let that unfold as we do the interview because I have 8 talking points on this sheet of paper. But
we only have a half hour. So.
I know.
So where are you from originally?
Well, I was born in Manhattan at Mount Sinai Hospital, and was raised in Bergenfield, New Jersey, which
no
is
kidding. Okay.
just over the bridge there.
Paramus?
Yeah, Bergen County, exactly.
Oh, well.
Like a stone's throw from Paramus, all those, the shopping mall center of New Jersey.
Oh, well.
And oddly enough, I just went down 2 days ago to say goodbye to my childhood home because my parents are moving up here.
Wow.
So I lived there. I've lived in the Pacific Northwest. I spent some time in Guatemala, in upstate New York, other things. And then I lived past 20 years was in Manhattan, raising my daughter there. And then we moved to Rosendale 3.5 years ago.
Nice.
And now my parents are moving up. So we went down and said goodbye to New Jersey, which I got to say,
Yeah,
it's fine
good
saying
riddance.
goodbye to New Jersey.
Basta on Jersey.
So
Yeah.
that's kind of mean, but
No.
it's how I feel.
It's all right.
Yeah.
Bless them. They're okay.
Yeah.
They're in their own world.
So you are a science person and also a minister. So there's a real interesting road to hoe.
And also a musician. I can't wait to hear
So
the story.
tell us a little bit about your experience as a high school science teacher. And I think I remember reading Seattle and Ithaca, and you had a science project called Storefront Science. Tell us about Storefront Science, Reverend.
Yeah, well, I love talking about storefront science, even though it didn't work, but it was a wonderful experiment, right? And life, like when you think of life as a scientist, which I do, then everything's an experiment. And so I started out. I always loved science when I was a kid. I always loved music, right? And so what happened is I took the path of science, and then was a biologist by training, and then became a science teacher in, like you said, in Seattle. I worked at the Native American Magnet School, American Indian Heritage School.
Wow.
And then I worked for a BOCES program in Ithaca, New York, which was, we called ourselves the Last Chance Corral. It was kind of like the place where kids went before they maybe went to juvie or something, and we were trying to keep them out of that. And so I'd always
slide somewhere.
Yeah, exactly. And I always kept my take on science has always been, it's a way of being. It's a habit of mind, right? It's not a subject that we stick in kids' heads. And when you work with populations that have been so marginalized, you can really make them see or help them see how science is a way of functioning in the world, right? We need to be scientifically literate. And so that was always my kind of call for science. And after I was teaching, I went and got a doctorate, but not in science, but we'll come back to that another time. And then I lived in Washington Heights for many years. That's where I raised my daughter. And there was almost nothing happening above 110th Street in terms of activities parents could do with their kids, right? And I used to work at the Museum of Natural History, and I was like, well, that's kind of a haul, and it's really expensive because people don't realize it's a suggested donation, right? So it's prohibitive. And so one of my friends said, you should start a center up here in the Heights. And so what I did is I rented a commercial space on 181st Street and created Storefront Science, which was a dedicated science play and exploration space in the middle of Washington Heights. And, we had classes and after-school programs, and I ran summer camps and vacation camps. And then there was drop-in time. Kids could just come in and I kept, and I mean it, play science, right? Because we make it too much about, when I was a high school teacher, the most frustrating thing was, these labs, and they were like step by step. And I was like, having been a person who worked in a lab, there are no steps, right? Like you do something and
What science did you teach? What science?
Well, when I taught biology, chemistry, and physics, because when you're the lone science teacher at like
hard ones.
Yes, right. Yeah, well, it's
like what happened to earth science?
Yeah. Oh, did I ever? I must have done
you
science
must have
at some point. Yeah.
8th grade.
When you were, because I done taught for 1 year middle school science in the West Village at the Little Red Schoolhouse, and that I was the only science. So lots of times I was the only science teacher. So I had to teach all the sciences.
Multiple.
Right, yeah. Which was good because when you get a science degree, you get all the science. You're not allowed to pick and choose. You get them all,
the whole
right?
Megillah, right.
Yeah. So, but Storefront Science was a lovely thing. And then New York City rents kind of did me in because I'm an altruist, right? Like I'm not a capitalist, right? So I would people would say, I can't afford it. And I'd be like, okay, we can do a sliding scale. And then I'd be like, okay.
We owe a lot of money here.
Right, exactly. But what I did do is create a spin-off called Explore Outside Your Door, where I created some science kits and I sell them on Etsy now. So that at least it's my philosophy of science in a little, eco-cotton bag that kids can take anywhere and do their science anywhere.
And the musical background?
So, well, I was, raised by music lovers, right? Like my parents are Italian people, and my father was a opera singer. Both sides. Oh yeah, through and through. Southern. So
Southern Italian, like
Calabrian, Sicilian, and Napolitan.
Another future Ulster County Italian American Foundation member.
Yes.
Yeah, you're right. I've been thinking about that.
You got just Google it. We got a great website. I'm the founding person
No way.
of the organization?
Well, Gabriele Uvino told me about
see.
it. And so, I've been meaning to.
You got to.
I will,
You got to now.
On my list
I
now.
got a member, a potential member.
Okay.
It's $25 or $30, something like,
Done. Absolutely.
Yeah.
So my father was an opera lover. And there's a funny story about that, but that will take us too far. But anyway, so we were raised in a house of music. And I learned piano when I was young, and then I added violin, and I was always singing because our house, we just all sang. And then I guess, I played violin for most of my life. That was my primary instrument. I added in oboe, I added other things, but I really just loved to sing. But when the time came for college, I'm very practical too, right? Like I came from people who were very, very poor. Right. So the idea of being an artist, they would have been fine with it. Honestly, I think I internalized that I should do something that would be guarantee me employment. Right. So I went and got a science degree. Or something that would at least, pay the bills. Pay the rent. Right. Yeah. But I never stopped doing it. And then when I found jazz, that was it. I was hooked. I had sang classical stuff and then found, I just love jazz. I can't. So that's been a thread. And I've always done it as a side gig because the pressure of trying to make a living at it is too much. And I didn't want to ever take away the joy of it for me. Sure. Right. So I was like, if I make a living other ways, then I can always make music about being joy, right? And exploration and creativity. So.
That's good. So I also noticed that you've been involved with Adelphi, Fordham, Vassar, and of course your doctorate from Columbia. How did it bring you to peace education?
So that's when I was teaching at the Little Red Schoolhouse and had been teaching by that point for, 7 or 8 years, at least, maybe more, and thought, my God, everywhere I go, it's still the same conversations about education, but nothing seems to change, right? And so I thought, well, I should go get a PhD. That's what you should do. And when I landed at Columbia Teachers College, I went into the International and Transcultural Studies department because I really wanted to look at education as a global construct, like how can we learn from each other? And I met Dr. Betty Reardon, who is the founder of Peace Education. Wow. And now she's 92. So this was 20 years ago. Wow. So she was in her 70s, faculty member, running the program in Peace Ed. And I just thought that I want to do what she does. Uh-huh. And what was interesting is as I started to take more Peace Education classes and read and learn it, I realized that a lot of that stuff had already been in my practice of education, right? Because I had worked in populations that were, I hate to say it any other way, but screwed by the system.
Marginalized.
Right? So we marginalized, right? So when you're working with, Native American kids in Washington State, in Seattle, you don't teach history the way the textbooks tell you to teach history. You don't even teach science the way you teach, right? So as I got to know Betty in the field, I realized that was what I'd been doing and what I want to be doing and the answer. And I still fundamentally think that all education should be informed by the peace education model. And which is, I can say quickly, is looking, it's not about depositing information in a person's head at all. It's about allowing for critical learning and thinking. It's about looking at problems from multiple perspectives. I often say to my students, even still at Vassar, that flies have these compound eyes, right? And they can see I forgot how many images it is at the same time. So they see, and I said, that's how we should think about anything we're teaching. How kids can look at it from that compound lens of an eye, right? Instead of just saying, this is the main story. Well, we know that there's other stories and other perspectives. Only one person got to write the book, but there are 20 others.
Tributaries is the word you used earlier, Richard, right? Yeah. Tributaries, right?
That all feed into the main story, but we ignore the tributaries and just focus on the river, right? Yeah. And not.
I remember reading in Chinua Achebe's All Things Fall Apart that when the lions have their historians, the history of the hunt will be different.
Exactly. Yes,
right.
Perfect. Yeah.
Right. I want to just show you this. Richard and I are both in Rotary, and what made me think about this was the Rotary. We're now looking, and I just talked to Bill Bassett, who's a past district governor. We're starting to take applications for the Rotary Peace Fellowship study, which you would be like perfecto for.
Oh my God, I will definitely.
We'll have to. We'll connect offline.
That'd be great.
I'll make sure
the Peace Fellowship application is amazing. And each district, of which our district has the opportunity to present people to do this. I mean, you would be.
That'd be
ideal.
Wonderful. Yeah.
International opportunity.
Oh my gosh.
And,
thank you. Yeah, that'd be
alley.
great. Yeah.
So what is the ECHO ministry?
Right. Well, so all of that came out of the peace education, right? So here I am, this scientist musician, like from Jersey, right? Working class girl, right? And then and
by the way, shy too.
Yeah, totally shy, right? Totally an introvert, nothing to say, right? I get it. Yeah.
Pull words out of you. Yeah.
Hence the, well, we'll get there.
We're good.
There, right?
We're good. 3 Italians.
I know. It's like, this is perfect. I mean, I should have brought food. I mean, come on.
Right. Yeah, I noted you didn't, by the way.
I know.
I'm getting to number 7, the 7 fishes.
Yeah, we're getting there. We're getting there. Richard and I were talking about that. But so as a scientist, when I was studying peace education with the science lens, for me it was like, well, then how do we teach science with this peace education lens? And I had always been a lover of the outdoors, right? So again, another thing, my parents, my mom's from the Bronx, my dad's from Jersey City. How did they raise us? Right, what outdoors? So they had made it a deliberate act to, at the time, it was only my biological brother. Many years later, I have an adopted brother who's 18 years younger. But when my brother Scott and I were little, they would take us camping and things, right? Completely out of their comfort zone, but they had this connection they wanted us to have, or maybe they just wanted us to have the connection and they wanted to be exposed to it. So we started camping, and my brother and I both became avid outdoors people, rock climbers, hikers, backpackers, mountain bikers, right? Like we did that, and we mostly did it together. We would come up to the Gunks and rock climb up here when we would drive up from New Jersey or down from Ithaca, and so that was always in my, and as a biologist, right, I never saw things as individual, yet you see everything as connected. There's so peace education just took that and went, yeah, right, because one of the values that Betty puts forth in peace education is planetary stewardship. So for me, it was always like, if we're not taking care of the planet, then what the hell are we doing, right? Like we're not doing anything if we're not doing that. And so when Storefront Science closed, I heard the call to ministry, right? And it's one of those funny stories people say, oh, the call to ministry. Well, it's a real thing, right? Like when you kind of lose all your, everything, you lose your business, most of your money, and you're sitting there and you try to say, universe, what do I do next? And it was go to seminary. And it wasn't necessarily that I was committed to becoming a minister. It was that I still had unanswered questions. And I always felt that science answered, 98% of them. And yet there were still more. And I thought, well, maybe theology can answer them. And that was it. So I enrolled in seminary as a Unitarian Universalist and Buddhist, and was able to keep those things and keep my scientist self. But the key is that I had a real environmental lens from the second I walked into seminary, because I had been doing that. I mean, I went to seminary at 46 or something. So for 20 odd years, I had already been.
Were you raised Catholic?
I was raised Catholic.
Because you're Italian.
Italian, very good assumption. Yeah, and I left Catholicism in my, early 20s, 21.
As many people did.
As many people did. And that's not a light decision to make, right? Because it's not just your family, but it's an entire country. It's your entire history, right? Like it's my grandparents, right?
Certain cultural
pieces that fit in there, right? You don't walk away from Catholicism without deep thought. And my parents, gratefully got it. They could tell that I was just not a divergent thinker, I guess, right?
Yeah.
They just knew.
But you kept your spirituality.
I kept my spirituality. I dabbled a lot. I just did it differently. I was mostly a non-theist, that was where I landed as a scientist. And then I found Buddhism, which gave me a real spiritual bent. But then I really loved religious naturalism, right? As an ecologist, biologist, nature spoke to me in a way. And then I found Unitarian Universalism, which incorporated all of that. So I could be, the former Catholic / scientist / Buddhist / religious naturalist, biologist, right? And because it's kind of all in there. So, and so why I tend to call myself the eco-minister term is because it's never not part of what I'm thinking about or doing.
Just woven into it.
It's woven into it, right? And so, and even when I, whatever I'm preaching about, for me, it's always back there. So that piece of caring for the planet and all of creation It's gotta be there. And, so for no matter what we're talking about, if it's, justice or racial justice, that's environmental justice, right? That's like, it's, who suffers the most when the planet goes to pot, right? Like, the poorest, the most, disenfranchised, right? Like, so it's, so I tend to think of it as an eco ministry because I guess I'm like sort of an evangelist for caring for the planet. He's really.
And how did you two meet again? Did I ask this? I can't
Well,
remember.
actually,
I don't think so. But.
Well, as it turns out, my wife Catherine is a remarkable musician as well.
Yes.
Okay.
And
interesting.
not unlike Leonisa, plays 3 or 4 instruments, but her primary instrument is voice. And Catherine,
A vocal group.
No. Catherine is the director of music at the Unitarian Universalist Congregation for 30 years.
Oh, Mamma Mia.
So this is not just so she's got institutional history. And then when Catherine came home one day, she said, "Hey, guess what? We have a new minister, and she's a jazz player." I said, "Oh, that's good." So
winner chicken Parmesan dinner.
So basically, I am not, well, I'll be frank, I'm a friend of the Unitarian Universalist because Catherine is really totally involved, and I support everything the Unitarians do, and I've been listening to Leonisa for over a year now on the Zoom sessions.
Oh, yeah.
Which brings us to this interesting question, and how do you touch upon the challenges of being a minister, which is you lead from the front, and how do you do that? How do you keep people involved and keep it relevant Zooming?
Yeah.
And can you talk a wee bit about some of those challenges?
Absolutely. It is challenging. And so I started September of 2019, and by March we moved online. So I've been their online minister longer than I was an in-person minister, right? And what the challenges are plenty. So I feel like the first hurdle was, how do we even do this, right? Like, and luckily I'm tech savvy, right? And everyone was game to try, because I just said to, Catherine and the board, like, this is what we're going to have to use. We're going to have to quickly all learn Zoom, and we're going to do what we can, and we're just going to keep people together. And that was really the primary goal. Like, how do we just keep people feeling connected?
Correct.
When we now are like in our homes, not allowed to go out. Like, how do we still keep people connected? So we did a couple things at the congregation. One is started geographic community circles. So people who lived near each other could stay closer in touch. It took a while to get that running, but now it's up and running. But it was a good way because it was able to have like phone trees, like old school phone trees, right? Checking in. Yeah. We have a lot of elders. So we had people pair up to do the check-in with the elders. And then we transitioned to Zoom, and I just remember saying, less is more right now.
Mm-hmm.
And I was in my home. I didn't wear my robe. I think I still wore my stole. I was in front of my bookshelf, and we just kept it simple, and I just tried to give messages that we're here together, right? That even if we're looking at each other on this, flat screen that looks like the Brady Bunch opening credits, right? We're still connected in some way.
But you're a high energy person. How does that translate to Zoom?
Good question.
That is a great question. Yeah. So it's
you lose a little in translation, right?
You do lose some, but it's been a good learning for me because I am high energy. But what happens is I also have this really reflective, contemplative side that often gets shoved away because I like to go and go and go. I'm like, right. So by being forced to slow down, I learned all this other stuff about me, and I learned that the biggest part of my ministry was just being present for people. Mm-hmm. Like, I didn't have to do all the things, even though I still feel like I have to do all the things because that's just part of my energy, right? But in translation, it was offering more contemplation in the service, just quiet time, making sermons shorter, but had a little more punch and left with a question, because now we could actually have time to think about the question, right? It wasn't about like, now let's go to coffee hour and chit chat, right? It was more like, what are we gonna absorb? How are we gonna slow down and think about things? It was more about pastoral care, like checking in with people, making sure everyone was doing okay, how.
So more one-on-one stuff.
One-on-one or even small group, or just even at the end of every service, just reminding people that I missed them and I loved them and that we're here for each other. And this is we know it's hard and we know we're going through this, but we're all going through it together, and together we can handle it far better than trying to do it alone. And even if we feel alone, I used the phrase the other day in a letter that we may be physically distanced, but our hearts are not at distance from one another, right? We still have heart connection, and we could keep that connection. It doesn't feel the same, right? But it's, so it was really, because you don't get any training for stuff like this in seminary, right? Like, they're teaching you all this stuff, but nowhere did it say, and this is what happens when a global pandemic hits and you have to do services through your computer.
Global pandemic.
Right.
I will say that even though it's, visual, and I mean, Zooming, there are still 50, 60 people on a Sunday service.
That's great.
It's been climbing 60, 70.
Yeah.
And what we do is I also make it very more visually. So I'm like learning the heck out of iMovie and all these other things. So now I take the hymns and I add beautiful pictures.
You do singing online?
We do
with the
sing.
Zoom?
So you can't. So that's the hardest part, I think, for most people.
Yeah,
and
yeah,
Catherine
yes.
too. So Catherine will play, but everyone stays muted, and
Yeah,
so
you
she'll
have to.
lead us. And my joke is, sing loud so your neighbors wonder what the heck you're doing,
Right,
but no
right.
one. But you cannot sing on Zoom because you just.
I know
You're
we
out
know
of
that
sync.
from Rotary.
Yeah,
you
it's
can't
just-
say the pledge. You can't say the four-way test. We're running out of time a little bit, I think, but we want to talk about. We have 3 minutes. The seven fish, because Richard put it in there.
Well,
the Christmas Eve. I'm
Yeah.
sure it refers to.
So I was curious.
So what's the deal?
So do you have any symbolism on the seven fishes? Because I was very curious about that, and I meant to look it up, and I failed to do that. So it's all on you, Reverend.
Great, right. Well, I have looked it up. So it's
Italian tradition.
It's Italian tradition. It apparently, from what I read, started though the way Good Friday was, right? Like, or the Fridays of Lent, right? Like to not eat meat, so we promote the fisher persons, right? The fishermen, the pesce vendolo, right? Like so they could do, and but then I read something else, and now it's completely escaping me.
Yeah, no, I have this, but there's some symbolism to the seven, and I can't remember what that is.
Probably
either.
the seven sacraments, I would
That's
think.
right.
I
But
think
then
it
what's
had religious-
interesting, in Sicily, they do a 13 version. So there's
Sicilians are always a little wacky anyway.
right? But there is. I thought it was 7. You're right. And it's and I just love it as far as tradition goes.
Yeah.
And
Did you do it this year?
Yeah, we did, and
we did
each
too.
year I
at
get
my
more and more
sister's
creative
house.
with it. Do you really?
We did. Yeah. The only thing we didn't have was eel. I wanted.
That's funny. I was going to say I have not done the eel yet.
Guess who did eel this time? Yes,
Definitely don't want to eel out of the Hudson River. That's for sure.
No.
Thank you.
The eel I get is from Adams, and it's smoked.
Gattolettos or Adams.
That is
smoked
good.
eel was a lot
We
easier.
get all our stuff from
We've done
Gattolettos,
octopus.
yeah.
We've done we
Yeah.
do the cod.
Yeah. I try to mix it up, right? And then I love the marinated white anchovies. I always look for fresh anchovies that I can bread or whatever. No one ever has those. I used to be able to get them in the city.
Schmelts. We had the
schmelts, and you fry them, right?
we did that.
Making me hungry, kids.
I know, right.
So
listen, we're at the last day of 2020, and so we would like to hear your idea, a prediction, if you will, anywhere you want to go with it, personally, professionally, musically, anywhere you want to go.
Yeah, well, I don't want to. I don't know if it's a prediction or a hope, but I guess I would be hopeful that we will see things change in the sense that all the pressure that has been building for very long, for 400 years, really, will continue, and then now having a non-hostile presence in leadership, maybe some of these changes could be made. And my hope is that we will get some kind of support for artists and musicians and small businesses, that we will have health care for all, that maybe student loan will become a thing of the past. I got a big list. I mean, if I'm going to talk to the universe, right, I'm going to ask for
ask for the world.
As Reverend Barber says, we always ask for one thing. I think we should ask for them all, right? Which is like, we have to put people and planet first, and stop giving money to billionaires, and stop giving gifts to those who really don't care about people but themselves. And my prediction is that maybe we'll see this internal turning towards greater kindness and justice and peace for our siblings and the planet, right? That's what I hope.
As my mom used to say, from your mouth to God's ears.
That's what I hope.
Leonisa, thank you so much
Thank
for
you
coming.
for coming.
It's been a
Thanks for having
delight.
me
It's
here.
been
Yeah,
great,
yeah, this is
great.
really great.
Awesome.
Thank you.
We'll have you
Great show
back.
for 1231, Richard. Thank you. It's been amazing.
Absolute
Everyone be
pleasure.
well, be safe.
love each other, go out there and just do good and have some
Happy
fun.
New Year.
Happy New Year. Happy New Year.
Thank you for sharing the morning with us and participating in Kingston Community Radio, KCR.